you have a sign-in sheet and just a couple of pieces of paper that you need to have in front of you while we go through this.
Strategic plan we've been in the process of building for a while. It's been baby steps. Thank you for those of you who have been involved so far. As we were trying to build a foundation in terms of, we had built our principles, we had built out some of the concerns we had. We were comparing it to other places and what they felt the best youth violence prevention report card consisted of. So we've done some planning, and Mike has graciously agreed to take us to the next level in terms of the strategic planning. So again, thank you for being here.
My name is Mike Coughlin. I have been involved with Partners for a Healthier Community for a long time. In different roles at the State Department of Public Health, and my tenure back in the mid-2000s as the health director here for the city of Fulton. And when I retired from DPH, I've been working as a part-time organizer and coordinator for Partners itself. Glad to be with you here today, and have been working with Kristen, Michaela, and Anne Marie, and Claudia for the last several months on the planning day session, and as Michaela said, to take the planning process to the next level. Why don't we go around the room and introduce everyone else?
I can go for all four of them first. I'm Sergeant Jason Chico, SRO, supervisor for high school.
My name is Kai. I'm a senior deputy and a part of the gold force.
I'm Anne Marie Holly. I'm a youth leadership coordinator. No, I'm not. I'm a youth leadership specialist at Greater Fall River Recreation.
I'm Shanna with the Youth Leadership Council. I'm Marsha Bogart. I work for Partners as the school wellness coordinator.
I'm Dave Weed, also with Partners, and I'll be your videographer.
Well, again, thanks everyone for being here. And I'm sorry I don't have name tags because I didn't remember everybody's name. So when we do make comments, please say your first name, at least for my benefit, if nobody else's. I appreciate that. Let's go over the agenda and see if it makes sense to everybody. What I thought we'd do first is review the work that's been done so far. So up on the wall, these are summaries of material that you already have in the front and back handout that says vision, mission, principles, etc. And we'll review those together, see if anyone wants to make any comments on them, wants to suggest possible revisions to any of them. That won't be a requirement, but if anybody has any thoughts or comments, we'll take them. Then we'll review the list, and these are on the back of the handout. Those 8 goals are represented in the current overall 5-year plan for Partners. The leadership of the group, Michaela, Christian, and Anne Marie, and I pulled those out from the 45-page work plan for Partners. Tweaked them a little bit, so these 8 are not verbatim what is in the Partners plan. And we're using them for the purposes of today's discussion. The goal over the course of the next couple hours or so is to take those 8 and emerge with 2 priority goals, at least for the coming year. After we select those, we'll take a short break, form 2 groups, one for each goal, and develop at least the framework for an action plan with objectives, tasks, and if time, even generate timelines. At the end of the session, we'll have the framework for a work plan for the year for this group. Is that any thoughts or comments about how we're going to go forward? Make sense? At least nodding of heads is good, because then we get some assent and confidence that we're going forward in the right direction. Okay, good. And we're just joined by
Corey.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi, my name is Mike, and I'll be the facilitator. And I'm guessing everybody else knows you, because I certainly knew who you were when you walked in. And people are still coming. All right.
I can't speak myself.
Oh, yeah.
We have
You can't hear us.
a former city councilor and a current city councilor just walked in, so we're August company.
Yeah, pockets, elevated.
Yeah. So we've actually, the attendance has actually exceeded what I expected, so that's always a great sign. All I've done here is rewrite the words that are, just this way on the front. And this is a vision statement or list of vision, elements of a vision for the coalition. And let's go through it quickly and see if this group feels it's representative of where the coalition should be heading over the next 5 years. So, state grants. I've never seen state grants as part of a vision statement, so somebody give us some context and background for everyone's looking at the guy in the red sweater. So.
Well, that's the basis of one of our pillars of our support for our overall vision. So these are the different sectors.
Okay, so the graphic, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to represent it larger than it is here. Pillars holding up the coalition.
Supporting our initiative.
Okay, so that's the thinking behind
The
it.
basis of Canon and SSYI was really the whole purpose of trying to create this violence prevention.
Okay. So these provide a lot of the resources to keep things going. The community organizations that participate and are represented around our semicircle, our growing semicircle this afternoon. And the schools, and it's so exciting to see a number of young people representing the student community participating in this afternoon's session. Faith-based groups, connections between church youth groups and pastors and other clergy who are engaged in the community and participating and supporting our young people. Other local leadership, sitting member of the city council, representative of the district attorney's office, and law enforcement, representing some of the public sector involvement. And area businesses, although I don't see any business people with us today, we interact with them and involve them in some of the specific activities, and many of them are very supportive. Any other comments, additions, thoughts? Again, the idea behind these is if you look on the graphic on the chart, is they're the pillars that support the overall effort. Anything else that could possibly add? Pillars that support the work?
The neighborhood associations on that list.
I thought about it, community organizations, how wide does that go?
I don't know if the neighborhoods were part of that. We didn't want to have 50 pillars. So
Okay.
we had general and vague as encompassing as possible.
Any other major sectors, assuming that community organizations is a pretty wide umbrella? We're comfortable recognizing that our elected leaders, particularly the state elected leaders, are incorporated into here. I mean, a word like leadership, there is some overlap throughout the whole list. That work for now? Okay. Now, the mission statement, I did not try to my chicken scratch right out the whole mission statement, but it's on here, and I'll read it line by line and see if anyone wants to comment, and we can all make any edits we want to on our own sheets. The Fall River Youth Violence Prevention Initiative is a collaborative, I emphasize that word, effort directed toward empowering our citizens to become involved in the reduction and prevention of youth violence in our community. Any comments, thoughts, additions, changes to that first sentence, those first couple of lines? Your suggestion of replacing our citizens with people would
People, so it could
pull in the,
incorporate people that are not in
Right.
the community, could incorporate people that are not citizens.
Okay.
Certainly there are many of those in the community too.
residents as opposed to citizens. Marcia looks like she's ready to.
Yeah, I questioned the direction toward, it sounds like, well, we might push it in that direction, but we might not, and just say that a collaborative effort that empowers people. I mean, but that's a little bit more definitive than we're directed toward.
Okay, so the
Collaborative
Marcia's
effort.
suggestion is a little different from Steve's. It complements Steve's to
I see it as a
Right.
friendly amendment.
cost.
So it could be empowering people.
That empowers people
So cross out directed toward and empowers people.
to become involved.
Yeah. Is everyone comfortable with that? We have consensus on that one. The movement emphasizes the ideal that no one program, organization, grant, or approach can solve the problem of violence. Our expanded partnership of various violence prevention efforts allows us to move closer to achieving a shared vision of peace for our city and work together on positive youth development.
In our statement, when we use the word peace, we always follow it up with whenever and wherever possible. I don't know if that might be able to fit in there, but it's just something I wanted to put out there.
Thoughts about including the statement wherever and whenever possible after the word peace? That's what you're suggesting.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we can, if
I
there are
like
more
it,
thoughts.
'cause I like
So,
it.
okay, well, that's
The reason why I
what I
like
need
it-
to hear. Okay.
The reason why I like it is I think for us to think that we're going to create peace in our city in the absence of there being peace in the state or the country or the planet is kind of naive. You know, and I think that whenever and wherever possible, that gives any effort a sense of being aware that if you want peace in your family, then you need to have peace in your neighborhood, you need to have peace in the community, your state, your nation, and your world, so that it really gives us a sense that, you know, act locally, but think globally, so that we can focus on
Okay.
that kind of whenever and wherever. So there might be a time when a collaborative might want to say something at some point, that living in a world of peace means that we might have to send a letter to our congressional delegation saying that we want to see something happen that reflects that peace.
Okay. Marcia, do you want to?
I just got to say that when possible, I used to work with a consulate editor, and she always told me everybody needs when needed, when necessary. Why would you do something when it wasn't needed? Why would you do something when it wasn't necessary? So they always come across as superfluous words. I mean, that's just something that I was taught. And the fact that you say move closer, it doesn't say you're there. It's saying we're trying to move closer. So then if we put down, you know, when possible, we've already said we're moving closer. We're not saying we're there. So I'm
Okay, so
thinking,
Marcia's
what's the
suggesting
thing?
that the move closer accomplishes the same idea as whenever possible.
And I would suggest, what Marcia's saying, that maybe we just don't say for us, if we say a vision of peace, working together on positive youth development, and eliminate for our city, and that would allow for the expansion of beyond our city as well.
Okay, so if we, are you suggesting that we continue to have whenever possible? Okay.
We could eliminate it, and eliminate for our city, and
How does that work for
a
you?
vision of peace, working at ING, working together on positive youth development.
Final thoughts on the mission statement? Okay, the last piece to go over from what has been talked about before are the principles. And they're up here as well as on your handouts. Violence is preventable. Thoughts on that? I hope it is, right? That's why we're here.
It's
What?
so endemic to our human nature, though. It's so much part of our human nature, our history, our legacy. It's always there. It's never really eradicated. It needs to constantly be worked toward.
I'd rather see it as a continuum
At least by saying violence is preventable, we're not saying that we expect to eliminate all violence. We know that we won't be able to do that. Okay, violence prevention begins at the local level. We are all stakeholders. Everyone in the community, every generation, all of the sectors represented in what we've talked about so far, has a stake in helping our community move closer to being peaceful and nonviolent. Okay?
Get beyond local level, it sounds like if violence begins.
Well, as I say, it's grassroots efforts, I think, is.
Where does the violence begin? Sort of the, what's that song that is on the song? Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. So where does the violence begin with the self? I guess I just question where does that fall in our exploration of.
Well, if I'm hearing and able to summarize what you're saying, Steve, is in going back to when you originally started to comment on this one, incorporating the notion of individual obligation challenge is what you're looking to do. Violence prevention begins, as you said, with the person in the mirror.
Could you just say at home as well as the local level?
Well, even beyond home, because sometimes it is not actually violence.
Violence prevention begins with the individual. We are
Some-
all stakeholders.
You all have been the ones working on these issues, so you know how a brainstorming works. There are no bad ideas. You just throw out stuff that you think is working, and we get them up on the sheet. So the floor is open. What is working?
A very broad descriptor would be communication, but communication is carried out with groups, police youth dialogues, et cetera, stuff like that. Recreational programs.
How specific are we getting and how it works?
Yeah, so.
What was the thinking? What was the thinking behind honoring what is working? Was it general, or were there specific programs that were being thought about at that time? This is a point of information. I'm looking to the leader. One of the things I was thinking when I saw this honor what is working is how to integrate some of the things that you're already doing and planning to do in the coming year, like the peace summits that are held every year. Events like that are going to happen regardless. You want to take the results of what we talked about today and integrate them into that, so they become pieces and elements of the overall work plan. So rather than general statements like communication, it might be more helpful to talk about the specific things that are going on now.
So you're looking at activities. Could it be what was working as well? Like,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Not currently.
Could it be as general as an agency like CD Rec or Boys and Girls Club? Could it be stuff like that?
It could, although I would think that we'd probably end up making a long list just of
What
the
if
youth-serving agencies.
Recreational
Yeah.
opportunities cover it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get started and see. I'm going to put the peace summit up here, okay? Just to get the conversation going, and then I'll put recreational opportunities.
I put youth court up there.
Youth court?
Peaceful Coalition when it was.
Just shout them out.
Basketball tournaments.
Recreational? That okay?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I guess.
Sports?
Yeah,
Organized sports?
yeah. Well, there are specifically organized tournaments throughout the year.
Right.
That are getting carried out and that bring a lot of kids
Right.
together.
So organized.
Recreational not including arts and culture, or is recreational including arts and culture?
Well, let's get arts and culture up.
I know the next thing on the list that we were going to talk about was respect diversity, and one thing that I thought did work for a while, the city did a One Earth, One People Under the Sun campaign every school year, and I thought that was pretty good. Just not
One Earth, what was it again?
One Earth, One People Under the Sun.
I mean, I was around then, but I didn't know.
The cultural diversity campaign in the schools way back when.
Yeah, I rings a bell. I think I was, see all of you then.
Youth candidate night?
Yeah. Youth Forum.
Yes.
Youth voice.
Youth voice.
Is that the same thing? Is that what you
No.
call it? No, Youth Voice is separate?
That's the kids on the school committee and on our boards and sitting at this meeting. Candidates night was a specific event.
Just a little more collaboration, I know it's kind of general, but I think you do a great job collaborating.
Is it fair to put the law enforcement officers on the spot and ask them if they have any thoughts about things that from your perspective have been working well with the kids?
We deal with the youth court all the time.
Okay.
We also deal with like the cleanups of parks, the pride days, things like that. The Hold the Child program and at Christmas, we provide coats and stuff like that. We actually did a special one at the schools this year, at the middle schools and the elementary schools, like backpack kind of deals. We did the, we assist with the bag program.
And so that's
Those
all
are
community
community
service.
service,
That's
yes.
community service.
Yeah.
That's,
Right, but I think that what's better than the actual coat you give away is the fact that there's a police officer giving the coat away. And I don't know how to say that in words.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that we do very well, that we put all different aspects in the community in the forefront so that people see that it's not us against them.
Yeah.
John?
I would say,
Relationship.
Something about relationship building,
Relationship
just that statement, or is there something?
Well, I think we mean that in the 43 sentences that I said.
Does that include religious communities, church communities?
Yes, definitely.
All right, well, church
How
involved.
about nurturing fathers?
Nurturing fathers.
And when you mentioned relationships too, it made me think of the Katie Brown program.
Yeah.
You can work with youth in the schools and talk
Yeah.
about preventing relationship violence.
Okay, we
Katie
needed,
Brown.
we needed a specific program, we'll end up making a long.
Well, so Katie Brown is, let's put it in, intimate partner violence. That's what they teach in the schools, right?
awareness, maybe
Okay,
just
well-
overall violence awareness.
Violence education, anti-violence education.
Other events.
Wide activities, under Pride Days and cleanups that really opens the door to all those community or neighborhood.
Well, I put other events down there, support groups,
Yeah.
Support.
Police youth dialogues.
issues, dialogues.
What about the Aspire board? The city used to have a board up in City Hall, a special place in recognition of excellence. So if there was a positive story about a youth in the community, it went up on the board. So you could have a story about the youth forum, anything that's going on positive about youth in the community. Those stories would go up on the board in City Hall so people could see what was happening.
Sure, on the day, when you're drafting specific strategies, you probably want to think about ways to take learnings from other communities.
We have had several NCBI workshops that deal specifically with prejudice reduction.
Can we not do acronyms so everybody knows what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't know what that means.
Thank you.
NCBI is National Coalition Building Institute, and it's a Washington-based organization that has done trainings everywhere from South Africa to New York, to Los Angeles, to
Okay, National Coalition Institute, what did you call the meetings?
prejudice reduction workshops.
Workshops.
Prime focus on what they do, and they also do a lot of work on other kinds of training and training.
They probably don't necessarily fall under any of those categories, but yet that's a group that, or some national and statewide groups
Okay.
might be pivotal to being a pillar.
But your suggestion of replacing our citizens with people would.
People, so could
people in the-
incorporate people that are not in
Right.
the community, could incorporate people that are not citizens. You know,
Okay.
certainly there are many of those in the community too.
Residents as well as citizens. Marcia, looks like she's ready to.
Yeah, I questioned the directed toward, it sounds like, well, we might push it in that direction, but we might not, and just say that a collaborative effort that empowers people. I mean, that's a little bit more definitive than we're directed toward.
specific help with employment for you, a number of others.
Youth employment efforts.
But what's more obvious to me are the things that people higher up, especially in schools, try to implement, which I feel are not working to their fullest capabilities. Like, we have state mandatory advisories now, and that's meant to kind of give students a place where they have like a stable and, I guess, dependable teacher that they can confide in. But if you only meet, which we don't do, we only meet we only meet once a week for 20 minutes, and you can't actually like build any sort of like.
Okay. Do we need to make a list of things that aren't working? I'm trying to.
Well, I got some things that aren't working.
I want to incorporate.
Go,
Yeah,
girl.
I
want
You
to
go,
incorporate
girl.
I want to incorporate Kai's input on this
Could we
issue.
put it onto a list of things that, if they work, would be good?
Yes.
That's what I'm
You go, girl.
Okay.
Okay, but, you know, let's sort of.
All right, so I'm gonna, in the interest of time, I'm gonna end the discussion on what is working, take 2 to 3 minutes and make a list of, it would be good if this works, something
Yeah,
along
something.
something like that, yeah. So Kai, what was that thing you were talking about?
I would say inadequate advisories.
Okay. But
Advisory.
it would be good if advisory worked.
Right. Okay, you're on. You said I have plenty.
Okay.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, well, one thing that I think is like a huge problem with this is, okay, so our audience is basically supposed to be people who do violence, no? Because we're trying to get rid of violence. So what we want is we want all the people who do violence to try to teach them like not to. And when it comes to the whole realistic thing, if you're gonna go talk to somebody who is probably just like, I don't know, doing bad stuff or whatever, you're not gonna look at them and you're not gonna be like, violence prevention is the responsibility of every individual. Like, you're not gonna wanna word it like that, or they're gonna be like, well, this is boring, this sucks, I wanna go home and go eat cereal. Like something like you need, like things need to be reworded, and like, I feel like you just need to be like, I don't know, I think some of them, you almost need to embarrass them about being violent and tell them to grow up. Like, I think it needs to be worded different, there needs to be a different, like, aggression to it.
Okay, so
Putting
it
out
would
the
be,
message.
it would be good if
Be messaged better.
better messaging, does that capture what you're trying to
For the
say?
right audience, maybe?
Messaging for the.
Yeah,
right
I
and
think
it's
you
youth,
were clear
so
on the
youth, a lot
audience.
of them are gonna be like, I don't care. And a lot of that should be directed more into why are they so apathetic and stuff like that. Like, why don't they care?
Okay, so
Okay, so this is
more
two things.
effective message
And root causes.
and
Root causes. She
root
said,
cause.
why don't they care? So that's a root cause. Why don't
identify
they
root
care?
causes. All right, I want to Tom's ready to say something, but I want to capture this first. Messaging and root causes.
Are you also saying messages need to be directed at people who are violent? Or is that part of what we started?
I think the point was effective messaging for violent individuals.
I get you, but you gave the statement that would go nowhere.
Have we done a good enough job to summarize, obviously really briefly, what you were trying to say?
So are you thinking,
Yeah.
so
Good
instead of
enough?
standing
Okay.
in front of somebody that's maybe committed some violent acts and saying, you know what, you shouldn't do that anymore, violence is bad, we're just gonna normalize it, maybe you take them like through a prison and show them what a jail cell looks like, or something that might be
Yeah, like
more-
the Scared Straight programs, like stuff like that. Like, they're taking people who have already done bad stuff and they're like,
Okay,
Don't
messaging
do
for
that.
people who have done bad stuff.
because I did it and it's a bad idea. Like,
How old are you?
I'm 17.
Ask him how old he is.
No,
So
no,
balance-
no.
so you
I'm
balance
asking this,
it, okay?
I'm asking this for a reason. So, you're in high school now. When you were in elementary school, what could you speak to, like, anybody coming at you, young kids, with a message of nonviolence? Could you guys relate to any groups or special presentations, guest speakers?
Well, I
anything
definitely
like-
remember Katie Brown program in elementary school.
Okay, was it a norm? Was it a regular thing that you guys attended?
No, they take over the
No, I
classroom
think
for
it's
a
like
week.
once a year.
Yeah,
Once
they take
for
the
like
classroom out
a
for a
week.
week.
Okay, so I'm paying attention to I like what you said right now very, very much. I like the way, because the youth, really, we gotta translate a lot of this to them. And I like what Kai said, because he said organizationally in the schools, there's not really a lot of outreach as far as, messaging, the idea. So I'm listening to both of them, and I'm trying to figure out what could we do to try to message, elementary age kids, middle school age kids, and high school age kids? What could be done better to message
I think
this?
it's not just who the message is for, it's who the message is from. Because
Well,
we talked
well-
about as a group, like, when we went to the elementary schools, the high school kids told them something, wow, that really settled them versus the teacher telling them.
Sure.
So, and youth to youth is gonna get a better message, I mean, that's at the end of the day, so, not just messaging for, but messaging from. Who's
Messaging
delivering
for
the
and
message.
messaging from.
Yeah, and it's to everybody, because, we're all responsible for our behavior. So, it should be an orientation thing, and this discussion is going somewhere now.
Yeah.
That's like what they do exactly at the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center, so they'll train youth to go and be able to talk and work with other youth, because it's more effective.
Bullying, so it can't be that bullying is the end-all and the be-all of everything that's wrong in our society.
Okay, well, it's on the not so great list. What else?
And also, what was at one time much better than what it is the whole LGBTQ support network. There wasn't bridges, there wasn't Florida area lesbian gay alliance. There was a Mantar group. There was lots of stuff.
Okay.
There's nothing.
Okay.
And also with
So we have high quality, but not enough. In
And what Wendy just mentioned on bullying, from what I'm hearing, on many different populations, there's a rampant increase in suicides. And it would be good if there were a very effective suicide prevention network.
We have 26 people that have come to this newly formed suicide prevention task force. We're working on it.
So it would be good if we were already working.
Well, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna put it up with the understanding that we're going forward with it. Anything else? Because I am starting to worry about time. And reminding you that we're still working on the list of principles and haven't even got to the goals yet.
Say no to drugs, that don't work.
Just say no, doesn't work. Last call. Okay. All right. Now I'm reminding you that we're returning to the list of principles and just working on consensus on those. And we are on respecting diversity.
Can we just go back to honor what is working? Could we add honor what is working, but recognize that not everything in the past was good, and that just because we did it doesn't mean we should continue doing it. Somehow, I know, there has to be, you can honor everything that comes in the past, well then, we're gonna do everything that comes in the past, and if everything that came in the past was good, then we wouldn't be saying it.
Well,
But we have to know what we
Wendy's
throw
comment
away.
does reflect the list we just made, right? So,
Right, so
yeah,
somehow we have to just say that.
All right, just so we can move forward, I'm gonna write recognize what is not, and we'll all know what that means, and it can be wordsmithed later.
Thank you.
So, respect diversity.
Piece of cake, that's easy. Keep moving.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, I'm not happy with that.
Okay.
Because it's more than respecting, it's celebrating. I think the days of tolerance or respect are very passe. I don't want to.
So, celebrating diversity has become a way I often hear it expressed. So, can we say celebrate and respect?
Correct.
Is that okay?
In case you don't want to do either one.
Yeah.
Sure. But I think if you fail to celebrate, then you really shortchange diversity. I'll accept it in
Okay.
the spirit of compromise.
All right.
Something along the lines of promoting diversity in the sense of really making sure that
Celebrating with the idea of promoting, but I don't.
I think the key word for Steve is celebrate, so we want to keep that in. And
And let's say that we all agree that that means also promoting diversity, just like we all agreed that the other one meant that.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. Prevention does not equal, that's what this means, does not equal suppression.
Nor does it
I'm gonna be, Dave just made a quizzical look, and I'm gonna admit, I also wasn't
Yeah.
sure what that meant.
Well, I was gonna
So
say,
I would
Does
ask,
prevention equal intervention? I mean, like, I don't know what that means. Just, I think the way it's written here is prevention is not the same as suppression. I think that it's to recognize that there are more than one
Well,
category.
So suppression is more than suppression intervention.
Right.
okay.
So, going back to our vision statement, that it's not just any one approach that's going to take.
All right, I'm about to cross this out. And violence prevention is a long-term and ongoing effort.
I don't want long-term, because long-term means that you're not gonna have anything change now. But ongoing.
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 So cross off long-term, just leave it as ongoing.
Yep.
Okay.
We need immediate stuff.
Violence prevention is an ongoing effort. Done. Okay. These are our working principles.
Want to read them?
Violence is preventable. Violence prevention is the responsibility of every individual. Violence prevention requires collaboration and multidisciplinary approaches. Honor what is working and recognize what isn't working. Celebrate and respect diversity. Violence prevention is an ongoing. Oh, Marcia? Okay. Okay, so we have our principles. Now, the next step, and now I am starting to worry about time, is the list of 5-year goals. And again, I said this, I think, before everybody got here, so I'll say it again. This list of 5-year goals, eight of them, are drawn from a 45-page, 5-year work plan for Partners for a Healthier Community. The leadership of the Violence Prevention Coalition pulled those out, tweaked them a bit, and came up with this list of 8 for us to consider and work from this afternoon. So that's where they came from. What I have up here are just the bold headings. The full wording of the goals is on the handouts that you have in front of you. As far as racism and anti-discrimination for LGBT youth, I see them as reflected in the principles that are overlaid on these things. And any work that we do on substance abuse treatment and prevention and implementing the YRBS will be done in a way that addresses racism and fairness for and opportunity for LGBT youth as well. And when we get to the objectives and the strategies, if there are specific strategies we need to implement that addresses, for example, LGBT youth, we include them in there. Does that work? Does that make sense?
Sorry, I just don't want it to get lost in the generality.
No,
Right.
keep bringing it up. That's good, that's good.
Let's go over the list and see if we're comfortable with this list of 8 being what we carry into the next part of the discussion, which is where we're actually going to start to narrow these down. I found it. Adolescent substance abuse treatment, and the subheading, increase the availability of evidence-based treatment approaches to treat adolescents who have or are abusing alcohol and drugs.
Nothing.
Okay.
Right, that's a good.
So,
that's it.
it's up
Okay,
here
so it's
because
good,
the
it's great.
presumption is there isn't enough.
That's good.
The second goal, opioid, that's like saying drugs, prevention for adolescents. Increase emphasis on substance abuse prevention in schools and the community, focusing on young adolescents. Right, that's what's driving the current epidemic, but maybe it's too narrow a focus. Yes?
I think elementary school is way too young for opioid prevention.
Is what?
Too
I
young.
think it's too young. Like, I think like 6th grade or like middle school works, because I don't know about any of you guys, but I didn't even know what drugs were until I was like 12 or 13. Wasn't like around, well, I was even being around it, you don't know yet, your mind doesn't even think about it.
All right, so we've had a quick discussion of what it is, and it seems to make sense to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Increase mental health resources for adolescents. Provide adequate mental health and case management services for children and youth who've been traumatized, particularly through witnessing or experiencing violence.
Absolutely. It's one of the core issues facing gun violence all over America today. A lot of the issues are mental health related, so we have to encompass that.
Okay?
So the description is fine, but the bold print refers to adolescents. So if it's for youth and adolescents, or for children.
Needs to be children.
Children and adolescents?
The work that the
It should be
Children's
youth and
Advocacy Center
adolescents.
does with very young children.
Yes.
That's-
Children or youth?
Child to witness, so the
Children or
domestic
youth?
violence or sexual assault.
Children, youth and adolescents?
I have youth and adolescents.
For youth.
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 For youth.
Youth.
Increase dropout prevention resources. Support alternative education approaches that enhance the likelihood that all students have the opportunity for academic success, graduation, and enhanced job and employment skills.
I want to ask, what do the adults think? Why youth are dropping out of schools? What do you guys?
What do you think?
Well, no, I mean, I just want to know, like, what's the reasoning? Like, what do you guys? Why, like, well,
You want something to go against?
yeah, like, I want to know what you guys think, so I can like agree with you or like add something in. Because I'm really unsure about what you guys think, like, why students are dropping out of schools.
Because the system is broken and it hasn't changed since I was a student, and society has changed a million times since then.
I would love for you to let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way you go to school is exactly the way I went to school. Okay, you have 9 periods, you go to different teachers, okay? But the way people learn, and we see it in the college world, is not that, not just concrete, but it isn't in little boxes. When you structure that, when you go to college, you'll get a project that will have to use your math skills and your English skills and your science skills. And that's one class that will be kicking into all that. And you'll be working collaboratively with people in your grade and people that are in graduate school and people in the community. And we haven't transferred that. And this happens often, that our technology and our change moves faster than our ability to create systems and laws and things like that. So when I see you go into school the same way I went to school, I'm 60 years old. It should be different than when I went to school.
I think the young man still has a thought. With the question.
I feel like a lot of people fail to realize that a lot of youth are dropping out because a lot of them face unfortunate circumstances that it's really hard for them to go to school, or sometimes it's really hard for them to maintain their grades or something, and they just lose hope and they feel like, why be in school to begin with, let's just leave. So I feel like we fail to accommodate, like, or
So that's different when you're
Yeah.
saying. He's not talking about a kid that chooses
No.
to disengage. He's talking about a kid that has so many other things in his life coming at him, like a child that maybe is raising the other children in their
Yeah.
family,
See, I
or a
don't
child
think-
who has a parent with mental health issues.
I don't think they direct
Yeah.
their efforts sometimes towards those kids who, I want to go to school, but I can't.
Yeah.
It's the kid who is a maniac. Oh, you gotta try to help this kid. Whereas the kid who's a good kid who wants to go to school, but can't. Sometimes they fall through those cracks.
Yes.
I want to know when he said unfortunate circumstances, I want something more specific. What kind of, what do you identify as unfortunate circumstances?
like for example, like their home life, like abuse in their homes, or lack of parents, or financial needs, or stuff like that.
What do you say?
I 100% disagree with you. And I disagree with you because I think if a kid wants to go to school, they have 100% they're able to go to school. They have programs that if you live too far away, they have buses for you. They have ones that specifically pick you up at your house. They have regular city buses. I think if you're poor, if anything, you want to be in school, because I think if they are having a bad situation at home, I think if anything, they're going to want to go to school. And I think the people that are dropping out are lazy kids that want to go home and sleep. And I think that they're not going to be able to withstand working, and they're not going to be able to withstand college. And if they want to drop out, they should drop out, and they should.
I have a question for the,
But she had her hand up too.
Well, yeah, but
To respond.
I want to ask a question to the group. Are we uncertain about whether dropout resources should be on this list, or are we debating the nature of those resources?
I think there's a connection to that and violence in general.
Well, okay, so which suggests that
Should be on the
dropout
list.
resources in some form need to be on the list.
problem.
Now, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I disagree with her because you can't compare a child that has a perfect life that wants to go to school to a kid going home to a drug house. Like, some kids have problems but can't go to school and open up to anybody. Some people have families that don't support them. It's not that easy to just go to school and be mentally focused if you're emotionally not there. That's what I think.
Excellent point.
I know that beginning in 3rd or 4th grade, that gang orientation already starts to infiltrate a young person's mind. And by the time they're in middle school, they might even be doing repping for a gang. So it's this gradual orientation toward this lifestyle, you know, that leads to violence. So they're all good points.
And I think your point was the best. Are we talking about whether we want to include them, or are we talking about the nature of what we're including? And I think we're sort of in agreement that we have to talk about it. We don't have to get to
And
the
by
nitty-gritty
talking,
now.
so that speaks to
Yeah.
leaving it on the list.
And let's move on.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
helping, I'm trying to help.
Okay, all right. So number 6, education and response resources addressing unhealthy relationships. Support and counseling regarding, there's a lot here. Support and counseling regarding gender roles, infuse fatherhood and male responsibility programs into settings with men and boys, whereby men teach males about gender norms and gender roles with an emphasis on preventing sexual assault, gang violence, bullying, partner violence, and dating violence. So a lot there. It's a big one. It's trying to capture a number of different elements, but the theme is education on what is a healthy relationship.
The one that's missing that we hear in our fatherhood work is anger, understanding the difference between power over and power to. And I think anger has to be listed here. That is a big part of our fatherhood program.
Anger in there somewhere.
Anger management.
Worded, it sounds like we're only gonna educate or help people who are in a fatherhood or male responsibility program versus maybe a more general with this kind of stuff.
How about if we say fatherhood initiatives, or male initiatives, which sort of makes it less than having to be in a program.
Right, but it's saying like support those initiatives, which absolutely is part of it, but it sounds like we're only talking about the sexual assault game, but with those programs.
Oh, I see what you said, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to provide safe places for youth. And again, I have a feeling we're going to have a discussion about this one too. Develop and expand recreational, artistic, social, and civic opportunities for all young people, and offer them in accessible and safe locations that are available at times of the day that you want to socialize. For example, evening hours and weekends.
I think when we wordsmith, we have to make sure that we include stuff in this particular one about safe spaces for LGBTQ plus issues. And I don't think we have to argue about it, we can wordsmith that afterwards, but I think that's the place, when Steve asked the question, where this goes.
I encourage the group to not try to wordsmith, down to the singular and plural and that sort of thing. It sounds like we had a pretty good consensus though on the general thrust of that one. So I'm going to move on to the last one. Creating a youth-friendly environment in the community. Foster school, classroom, after-school, and community environments in which violence is intolerable, youth feel safe, and trust in communication is strong.
That's the ideal.
And how is that measurable? What means to promote?
Promote in all those places, school, classroom, after school, and in the community. There's a good chance this one won't make the cut when we go into the selection process.
We don't have to have 8.
Right. We're going to end up, if all goes well, we're going to end up with 2.
Maybe that would be the overall effect if everything else gets enacted.
Well, yeah. Are there any final comments on the list of 8 as revised?
Why don't we just eliminate it? So we don't eliminate it.
Does the group
You
want
guys
to
are thinking
eliminate it?
about this way too hard. Like, don't worry about 8. If you guys aren't gonna add 8, then don't add 8.
I go with that.
If we
Let's
don't
not
even
think
talk
so
about
much.
getting rid of it or
Let's
not
just
for
do
the
it.
next half an
Let's
hour.
just do it. And if 8 comes
When
out,
we
we'll
break
do
up into
it.
small groups, you're only going to consider the top 7. And choose 3. In rank them. Okay? So that we're gonna see how that comes out in a vote. And we might be able to do some mixing and matching and combining if there's some important things that we want to be reflected in the final work for the year.
It might just be semantic, but are we picking the 3 that we think we could feasibly do, or the 3 that we like the most? There's a difference. Because there are things that, wow, that would be great, but you know what, we don't have the money to pay for YRBS. I'm just an example, I mean, there might be other options, but.
I understand the question, but but you also keep in mind that the next step, once we've chosen a final list of 2 actually, then we're going to break them down. The SMART objectives thing is falling down. We're going to identify SMART objectives for them, which will identify strategies for them that are achievable but I don't know that we need to eliminate any of the goals at this stage.
No.
We are 18. So 6 groups of 3. So the 1s are somewhere in this corner. The 2s will be over near that sharing makes you feel sign. 3s in that far right corner. 4s in the middle back. 5s in the far back corner, and 6s right around here.
You're there for life, darling. To be evaluated, because the big evaluate, once they're all taken, then there's scanning that needs to be done. When you think of they do all the correlation of what percentage of kids respond to what. So what do we want to do? What do we want to do?
The
No,
number
you put it,
works.
like, under.
Actually, if you only wrote the number, that'll work.
You kind of combine 2 together. That's in the Star Trek.
Oh, you combined already? Oh dear. 15, there's 1 group missing.
There you go.
Okay, there it is.
Find out.
All the blues get 3 points. All the greens get 2 points. And the kind of orange ones get 1 point. So as we sit right now, the 2 top priorities are safe places and substance use and violence prevention education. But our work plan for the coming year is going to be driven by those 2 areas. And there's a suggestion from 1 group that the relationship issues, as we discussed, be incorporated into number 2.
We had the same discussion in our group as well.
Is there consensus on that?
Yeah.
Having the dropout prevention efforts be the overriding theme that incorporates many of the other things. That's the suggestion. What does everyone else, what others think about that?
We had some conversation about that. There's a dropout prevention process that's been going on in the school system for at least 5 years or longer. And it's got its own life. There are objectives. They're working toward it. They're actually making some progress on that. And I think it dilutes our efforts in violence prevention to try to replace overlap or whatever the dropout prevention efforts are going to go on whether we do anything or not.
And it's not going to stop violence necessarily.
Yeah.
So number 2 is calling that risk behavior prevention. So whether it's substance use, violence prevention, dropout, encompassing more of that behavior.
That's a great term.
Kristen's suggestion is to broaden the description of number 2 to risk behavior, which would capture both substance abuse, violence, and other things, the relationship issues too, right?
Right.
Is that a fair
Yep.
characterization? We're going to form 2 groups, and you'll be self-selecting. We're not going to come off, although if there's an imbalance, we might try to negotiate that a little bit. And 1 group, you probably follow where we're going with this, is going to develop objectives for this one, safe places, and 1 group is going to develop SMART objectives for what we're now calling risk behavior prevention. And that's where, as you develop objectives and activities, things like the YRBS, remember Michelle's comment of a minute ago, can be incorporated into the active phase. Objectives should be smart, and smart objectives, if you're not familiar with the term, they should be specific, to the point, something tangible that you know you can work on. Measurable, at the end of the year, there's a way we can see if we have made any progress. Achievable, that we can achieve some progress, we can make some progress. Realistic is sort of the same thing, not pie in the sky. And time-oriented, we have a sense of how long it would take to do those things. So if we come up with one or more SMART objectives for each of the two major goals, if time allows, you can go even further and list some strategies, tasks, who would do it, and the time it would take. So to get each group started, we have these charts. If all goes well, we'll have at least some of this completed and have a sense of where we're going to go in the coming year in these two areas, safe places and risk behavior education. I'll bring markers to you, and someone who wants to work on risk behaviors here. I'll bring faith and markers.
But where?
You kids, how you kids feel about the need for a safe place or places that you guys can go and be and have constructive activities. You really do.
Wanted to let them know, talk to the mayor.
Really think that, we have to have the leadership in on this conversation, or else it's not going to get heard.
Lexi and Wendy are going to report out on what they did in their respective groups. Floor.
Go, Lexi! Okay, wait, what am I starting off with?
You're
Okay.
Safe
Wait,
place.
what was ours on again? Okay, safe place, okay. One thing that we thought would be a good idea to talk about was transportation, because a big issue is that kids gotta walk around at night and stuff, and that's not safe. And then we got into the bus schedule and how it only stays until 7. And I don't know if you guys agree, but that's really early, and sometimes a lot of kids still need to go places after that. So we were thinking like around like 10 seems like, and like kids should be home like around 10 at least, and 11's too like spooky to have other people around the bus. Okay. Yeah, so who was for us as the public to address this to the city, mayor, and the council and stuff, and that was like a 2 to 3 year goal there. And then we go to the, okay. Next one is we were discussing places that this could be at, and we were talking about how we have like Boys and Girls Club, and we have YMCA, but these are both like around the middle of the city, and there's not really anything on the south side. Now I can't even think of anything like over there, besides like maybe Lasergate, which is still like kind of out of the way if you live on the south side. And we had the idea of to explore the tech theater at RPS, because there's lots of room over there, and it's really like artsy and like a good environment to have kids at. And we'd also basically approach that the same way, to have the city and school department and stuff get involved and talk to the mayor and whatnot for that. And they said this could be that action should be done now, and it could be a year goal. And that also gets into the timing of the bus too. I think that's what started that conversation for that. But yeah. Anyways, another thing is that what we want to be doing at these places. So we wanted, like, if we wanted these to be more for teens, we would want more of a more chalant hangout area. Like, we don't want everything to be so supervised, but still like the safe place, like, you know what I mean? and we would still want to be able to have like our music and like our activities, but without the teen discrimination that they're all doing drugs and they're all there to go hump on each other. I don't know, like, I don't know. So, like, we also wanted to find a way to get rid of that discrimination, and as they were talking about, there has been teen facilities that have been closed down because of them assuming that these kids are all together to start chaos. So, we want to get rid of that discrimination problem. And by doing that, that's also the other things that we need to do by talking to higher power, and the youth needs to have a voice and to discuss those issues such as the teen discrimination, and we were saying how we need a representative, and that goes also for like now. And I think, I forgot how we got into Mondays and Tuesdays, but.
Wendy is going to report on the risk behaviors group.
Okay, so I'm going to do it a little out of order, in the order we sort of thought we would like to see it happen. And we have 1 and we have A's. So we have 1 and 1A and 2 and 2A, because some things we saw as what I call low-hanging fruit, that is easy, that we'll be able to do without a lot of time and energy. So the first one, since it was already in the works, was the objective was to recognize the accomplishment and involvement of youth in the community. And we have Youth of the Year. We talked about Aspire boards. Someone, Tom talked about one that used to be, was that you who said it used to be in city?
Eric was the one.
Oh, Eric, who used to be in city council. And to maybe have an online version of that, and the Absolutely Incredible Kids Day. And we certainly need all of our agencies and youth and everyone and the media to be involved. And we're going to start working on that now, because Christian already has some of that stuff in place, so we can sort of jump onto that. Then the other 1A we said was to find a baseline of activities that support violence prevention. So we want to do an inventory of existing programs that we have here and any new programs that are coming to the community, so we can see what we have and then be able to figure out what's missing and what we need to bring. And we want to try and accomplish that by September. Okay, then we have 2 is increased violence prevention education, both formal in the schools and informal outside of the schools. And we had events such as Youth Violence Prevention Week, Piece by Piece, the White Ribbons EV Awareness, youth teaching adults, teaching parents, peer-to-peer, youth debates, youth teaching younger kids, and we put support groups here. And again, we need everybody. We want to start in the spring, and we see this as an ongoing process that we'll be working on. 2A was to get up-to-date information on risk behavior of youth and buy-in from the powers that be to make that happen, and we would accomplish that by doing the YRBS, and we have to get the schools involved in that, and our goal is to have it during fiscal year 17, so that would be next school year sometime. Then we had 3, which was to create a meaningful and consistent dialogue between students and trusted adults and students, and we saw a variety of things here, including advisory group, curriculums that resonate with youth and is designed to grow with youth and has youth input, peer dialogue, adult youth dialogue, the speed networking, and dialogues between law enforcement and youth. And that's something we want to start now and continue forward on that. And then the third, 3A, was providing high-level education curricula for all students. So that involves examining what we have, figuring out what else is out there, and somehow connecting with the agencies, the SEL networks, social emotional learning networks, health teachers, the hospitals, and we're sort of looking to do that by December 2016. The orange represents things that we saw as challenges. We didn't see that any of them were so insurmountable that we couldn't, accomplish this, but we wanted to be aware of them. So, of course, one of the big challenges is money across the board. Who pays for stuff? Getting into the schools and getting buy-in from the schools are the things that we want to do. The fact that all of us have other work to do besides this. You guys have school, we have our jobs. Time elements, participation, getting other people to get involved and keeping the momentum going and not have it turn off. And some of our greatest kids are going to be graduating and moving on. And how do we keep on? Well, that's great, but we're losing you. So how do we, build a sustainable network of youth so that we can continually have youth voice?
Okay, questions or comments?
Thanks, all of you, for the great job that you did. And I hope everyone feels good about the final product that we have, and think about where we were 3 hours ago and where we are now. And so the next step would seem to be to write up the product of our work today and present it to the whole steering committee for its review and comment. Not knowing when the next meeting is, I don't want to commit to it, because if it's tomorrow, it won't be ready by then. But within the next several weeks, we'll write it up and present it to them for their comment, and that will be the group responsible for moving these objectives forward in the coming year. That makes sense to everybody? Is that, any other thoughts or comments on that or anything?
Thank you for facilitating.
Okay.